This is a PI Advice Podcast.
Yeah, boy.
What's going on, everybody? This is Andrew with the Private Investigator Advice Podcast. Coming to you from Washington State. What's going on? Not a whole heck of a lot going on over here. I think one of the things that I found out, as an adult is that, once you go ahead and make that move into buying a house, it's a big deal for a lot of people. It was a big deal for me. But I have found that, just aside from the house payment alone, it's just expensive in general to own a home. Everything just seems to go wrong at the wrong time. Last week, our heater went out. And, in the state of Washington and this whole cold front coming over the United States, worst time ever. So we had a couple cold nights, but we ended up picking some electric heaters up. But, and then, when you don't buy a furnace, you don't really know how much they cost. And I was a little sticker shocked when we got some bids. And luckily, we found somebody that was, we went to the Better Business Bureau and stuff. But, yeah, man, that's a lot of money. A lot of money when work's slow. You know what I mean? Anyways, enough of that. That's my little pity party furnace story. I know you guys care about that so much, but yeah, I hope everybody's doing good. I hope everybody's, staying busy throughout this winter. Like I said, I can't say that I have been that busy, but I've been able to get other things done. I have other projects going on. I'm always trying to do something, But one of the things I wanted to get out of the way, and because it's been gnawing on me, is there's this, I can't remember the reader, but they keep asking like, hey, I'd love to, kind of know about report formats and things like that. And then he asked me again, and then somebody else had asked me, and then I was like, okay, I really got to put something together for this. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a post up. It's kind of outline what you can have in some of your, for instance, surveillance report, but it kind of give you an idea what you can take from that. You can take pieces of that and stick it into other types of reports. Really, in report writing, it really comes down to, what information you're providing for the client. What can you legally provide to your client? There's a lot of stuff I don't suggest providing, depending on the type of surveillance case you're working or something like that, or just any investigation. Maybe it was a locate, maybe we're trying to find somebody for somebody, but I wouldn't say there's just one cut and dry format to go with, but for the sake of having a format for you, I thought I could just kind of share a surveillance report, kind of like what, maybe why you put what you put in there, what I have been putting in surveillance reports for a very long time. Reports are important. They kind of, not only they give a chronological order of what you did, but it kind of takes all your information, makes it look pretty. And, and a lot of times, clients are like, look, I don't care about that crap. I just want you to, just write the report, like what happened. I don't want anything fancy. Just give me the basics. And so, if you got that kind of client, great. If you're working like a domestic and you're, maybe it's a cheating spouse thing, guy hires you to, see if his wife's cheating on him. He might not want to report at all. Maybe want no trace of, of that. Or, he might, like, hey, just kind of timeline of let me know what's going on. And then in that accompanied with the video, might be your best way to go. Insurance companies, they can be sticklers. They can be very, very picky what they want in there. Sometimes they want, investigator recommendations. More times than not, they don't. So I'm just going to kind of go over some of the basics that I would recommend having in a report. and more particular in the surveillance report, just kind of, but like I said, the layout that I'm kind of talking about here can kind of go into a lot of different things, activity checks, and also again, like I'm saying, if you're like working for a specific client, they might have a specific way or a specific information they want in that report and how they want it. So, make sure to ask them. So one of the things that sometimes is nice is to kind of have a report cover. And doesn't need to be a whole lot of information on there. Maybe we could say confidential, or basically maybe just a case number or detailed report from X company. And this kind of covers up any information for maybe eyes that aren't supposed to see the report. So like just someone walking by might glance at it. They don't get any information they're not supposed to get. But that's your choice. It's not mandatory. I have seen those in the past. I don't do one, but it's definitely an option for you. A cover letter, it's just a brief letter going, hey, it might have your company letterhead on the top and, such and such investigations. And so, hey, enclosed in this report is, maybe an outline of what they're going to find in there. If you have anything else, you need anything else from us regarding this file, please let us know. Otherwise, whatever, here it is. And of course, I don't write it like that, but make it professional. So when you open the report, at least in surveillance cases, usually they have like the case information. And this might be information that you obtain from your client. This might be information that, it could just be basic information. So your client who requested the surveillance. So this is like an insurance case. The client might be X insurance company. The requester might be X, whoever, claims adjuster. The billing address, maybe the date that it was assigned to you, the case number you assigned to it, or maybe a case number that they had, that that's their file number, and of course maybe the investigator's name. Nothing major, nothing fancy about that. That could be a biggest section, as small sections you want. You might have more things you want to enter in there. Then after that, usually it kind of gets into, maybe the subject information. So if this is surveillance on a claimant, that's something I've been doing for 10 years. You can, you have these areas where you can put the name of the subject, maybe the one that was provided to you. Maybe you found a different name through your research, or, maybe it's sometimes people go by their middle name. Some people, I'm trying to think of something. Oh, like here's an example. This is a kind of lame example, but, they might assign the case as Andrew, Andrew last name, whatever, that's their name. But you find out that he goes by Andy. So you might want to provide that alias because you called them and happened to talk to them on the phone. And when you ask for Andrew, the wife answers and goes, hey, someone's asking for you. And they ask for Andrew. That's weird. When usually everybody asks for Andy. So now and maybe the client might know for future surveillance, whether they use you or not, that hey, investigator, when you call the house, you might want to use Andy because that's a familiar name he's used to hearing. And that'll probably get him to the phone. Excuse me. So also, provided address, that's like what the client provided to you, whether it be a domestic or, the insurance company or whoever, lawyer. And then, say you were provided the address and your investigation leaded you to a different address. You can put located address. You've got a different address. And then again, provided phone numbers that you started with. You kind of had this base of information. And then maybe you found out through your investigation that there was new numbers. Maybe you found out a cell phone number, something to that effect. That can go on the subject information. Of course, gender, maybe you found out they're married, height and weight, race, that'll all be good. Build of the person. If you didn't have a social security number for them, again, be careful with that kind of stuff. That stuff can go into insurance and, surveillances pretty easily. Or maybe, an attorney, can get that kind of information. I would be careful with that other stuff for other people, unless like a wife going, hey, here's a social security number and I can't find them. Maybe you're doing a case like that. Maybe it doesn't matter. Date of birth, you might find through your database searches through like TLO, IRB, all these acronyms, you might find that he's got multiple date of births, or he's got multiple social security numbers. So or maybe the date of birth that was given to you was wrong, so maybe you correct it, something like that. The client might provide vehicles to you. Obviously it's domestic. They might be like, no, he drives a red Ford. If it's in most cases, I don't do a lot of domestic, so I do insurance work. We don't get vehicles provided too often by the client. So what I'll do is I have a way to search vehicles in Washington, and I'll do that. And sometimes it doesn't turn up anything. So when I get to the house, and I'll write down all the vehicles, and I find that he drives one in particular. It might not be registered to him, but that's the car he drives. So I'll just document, that car and maybe all the vehicles there. And then, any additional information that you might have regarding the subject. He wears glasses, or, has a toupee, balding, full beard, whatever's going to help, be as detailed as possible. And I have also seen that clients like to see, especially insurance cases, like to see directions to the residence. Why? I don't know. I don't know that they're actually going to go out there, but that's, sometimes I get the feeling that, investigative companies try to outdo each other. Like, oh yeah, you found a new address. Well, did you put in your directions to get there? Or, who knows? Maybe that's just the client's request. I think it's kind of weird, especially in this day and age, when we can just Google anything. I will say though, with that being said, because I wasn't really thinking about it when I was going on that rant, sometimes places are hard to find, and they're not marked. So there you go. Just thought of that. See how smart I am? So, all right. If it's like an insurance case, or, like a disability case, you might want to put in the injury information, maybe the day they got hurt, occupation they had, or have, injury, what it is, where it is. You might want to put, maybe, I don't know, usually the information's in there. If they are represented or something, maybe you found out they're represented, maybe you want to put in that. But again, that's something you might find out. This, you might be doing a different report where you're doing a statement for somebody, and or you're trying to get, information from somebody, and you find out they're represented. So you get that information, like, who's your lawyer, yada, yada. And then you can actually put that in the report. Like, well, I couldn't obtain the statement. Here's the lawyer information. He wouldn't let me talk to the subject. And so, couldn't do nothing. Assignment objective. This is, I think this is kind of, it's pretty important to put in there, because, and also to clarify with your client, whether, no matter where it be, it could be domestic, a lawyer, it could be whatever. What's the objective? Like, when it's all said and done, what do you want? Right? What do you want me to try to do? So, like, for surveillance investigators, it's like, oh, please conduct 3 days of surveillance, at the claimant's residence, 1 being on the weekend. If no activity after 4 hours, break off, come back 2 hours later. There's all these little stipulations, but this is the objective, right? And, you might want to put in there, the objective was completed, or, we documented over 3 days. You can do however you want. You can go from there. There's always a fancy little way to say it. So mainly you want to be able to say, yeah, we completed the objective. We documented the claimants, or we tried to, for 3 days. So once you get past that, you got your preliminary investigation. Now, again, the amount of information might vary state to state, what laws, whatnot. Usually private investigators are pretty safe when they are giving their stuff to a third-party administrator, insurance company, because they always have lawyers involved. So it's almost like it's like the middleman to the it's always protected by the lawyer, client attorney privilege. But in the preliminary investigation, you can share address history. Now, again, would I give that information to some people and not the others? Yes, I would give it to insurance companies, but maybe not to certain domestic issues without representation involved, lawyers and stuff. Addresses, so you can use TLO, IRB for that. Social media searches, of course, it's one of the biggest assets, which I hopefully get to talk about and write about in the near future. But social media searches, Facebook, MySpace. Don't count on MySpace, people. That's still important, okay? Because people were on that once upon a time. Twitter, if you can find any information on there, and and there's way more other social networks out there that you can check. Court records. I know in the state of Washington, I could literally type in somebody's name and get a list of any court-related, instances in the state of Washington. Now, of course, some people have the same name, so I have to narrow it down with middle names and things like that. But usually, that can guide me and lead me into a path that if I really need to dig in, I can find addresses, hopefully, and things like that. It might tell me if they're divorced, if they had any speeding tickets recently, like what county was that in. Any assaults, you guys know, come on, court records, you gotta love those things. And it also can lead you to possible criminal records. You might want to put that, if you find this stuff, basically this is what we're putting into the preliminary investigation part, and you could block this off or make it however you want, but this is stuff that you usually want to have in there. This is kind of your base. This is usually what you start off with your investigation anyways. Any other internet research, you internet digging, mining, whatever they call it these days. And then if you find something in particular, like maybe, a lot of times you'll find like stuff on Facebook and they'll be like, for insurance, like they have a shoulder injury, but they just went golfing last week and said, went golfing with the friends on Father's Day. So, 2014. And so now you've got a date. They've got someone saying something. You can cut it out and take a snapshot of it, and because anybody can take that down any time. So you want to save that moment in time, right? So you can put that in the report as well. What else? Vehicle information. Like I said, if you were able to maybe find it, or maybe you did a drive-by spot check of maybe the residence at a time because it was right next to you. That's considered preliminary. You're doing it before the actual investigation, I guess you could say. Put that in there. Business licenses, important. Again, put that in your preliminary report if you find anything, or even anything in the past might be relevant. So include it. If it's a surveillance like we've been talking about, you're going to want to put in like this a summaries of the surveillance. Now, you don't want to. This won't be the chronological time by time. This is going to be basically a summary of events. The date you got there, what vehicles are there, any activity, where'd he go, where he or she go, how did they move, and each date, date that you work, you put the summary in that area, in that little above the summary of surveillance. And then you do your investigative report, basically time by time, when you take time shots, if you do that, if it's required, if you get video activity, I think one of the things that's really important to have these days, even though not everybody wants it, not everybody requires it, but they love it to see, let's say at 9 a.m., your subject comes out of the residence, starts doing jumping jacks on the front lawn, and you're videotaping all of this, of course, because you're so awesome. And so you do that, and so when you go later in the day, you go to do your report, you've got you've got that entry at 9 a.m. The subject exited the residence and started doing, began doing jumping jacks, whatever, and you've got pictures of them going, or whatever. You got them doing that, and you got maybe 4 or 5 pictures underneath that one entry. People love that. People love pictures, right? That's why we share on Facebook. That's why we do what we do. We're social animals, right? We want to share. We want people to acknowledge us, and so people like to see, what happened. They want to see that. It's kind of like instant gratification. Now, of course, they're gonna be able to watch the video, and that's going to be even greater. Yeah. And so you do all that, and you put the pictures in. Make sure you detail when you got video, when it was just like when I say video, I'm saying video of your subject, so they know where to go if they were fast forwarding through video if needed. And once that's all done, now of course you want all the dates that you worked in there, and then recommendations. Again, this isn't always wanted, but you can always. I wouldn't say with recommendations. Focus your recommendations around activity. perhaps, or the best chance to get what they're looking for. So, like again, with insurance investigations, we'll say something like, maybe it might be worth pursuing more surveillance on the weekends because that seems to be the only time he's active. Or maybe in the afternoons. Let's try it. Maybe we weren't getting anything, and you say something to the effect of, "Hey, let's try in the afternoons, and see if what happens during that time." So, and then basically some kind of closing sentence like, "Hey, thank you. We've closed this file. Again, if you need anything else, feel free to contact Andrew at Fortified Investigative Services," or something to that effect. So. Now you're like, you're probably like thinking, well, okay, that's great. You've laid out these nice little outlines, but how do I build this report? And I guess the basic, easiest thing to tell you is you just do it in Microsoft Word, and you're gonna have to fiddle with some things. And I guess the best thing I could do maybe down in the future is to make a tutorial of kind of. Maybe share how to build these boxes and stuff like that. And also make sure you have a header on your reports. And a header will be something that repeats itself in every page. And if you're unfamiliar with that, so it might be your logo in the top corner, and then it might be a page number over here. So it'll say, 1 of 1, 2 of 2, 3 of 3, something to that effect, to let them know that there's nothing missing in the report. That was it. And then also, you can also have like a case number there too, name, case number. So, Andrew Gonzalez, case number, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You want to make sure you do identify these numbers because, in regards to case numbers and have them saved somewhere, nicely, maybe on an external hard drive or by client in a folder, and then, in their own little folders, each case. So you can search for it later. I know that like nationwide companies will always stick in the letter of the state that it's being worked in. So it might be WA dash, maybe the date that the assignment was, received. And then maybe how many cases came from that client possibly, or the case number for that state. Maybe how many cases, this may be the third case this year. So it might be, whatever, WA dash 1-13-2014, or whatever, crunch them together, and then 0003, something to that effect. Just kind of maybe for your own records, like, oh, this is the fourth time I've got a case from this client, or whatever. Again, it might not matter for domestics, your private clients who are just like, hey, just take a look at this, or something to that effect. So that's basically the outline. Again, I wrote this out already. I'm hoping to be able to kind of clean it up and make it look nicer for you guys, to kind of give you guys some ideas. And maybe I'll even, I don't know. I don't want to promise too much on here, but hopefully this kind of just helps you, guide you a little bit. And again, it depends on what your case is, what your report looks like, but you can always take away and add to this base, depending on what your assignment is. If it's an activity check, is it a recorded statement? Is it a witness statement? Not everything is, one thing for everything, so, if you got to maybe build several report templates for yourself to just be able to pop the information in, that's ideal. Or maybe you build one that, you can just cut out what you don't need each time. Or leave there, it might make things easier for you. It really just depends on, what, if you only, pull records, or if you only do missing persons or whatever it is, like if you only do one certain thing all the time, then maybe you don't need a surveillance template to work with. But if you're doing surveillance all the time, then get the template out for yourself so you can just kind of fill in the blanks and make that a heck of a lot easier for you. So that is about it. It's really cool, guys. That's it for reports. So at least for now, we can get into, I don't know, maybe down the road we can get into, how to type out, make it look all fancy and all professional and whatnot. We can get into that. That's not a big deal. But yeah, I've been, I like listening to tech news, because tech news, it's just fascinating to me because, especially in private investigations, we're seeing more and more tech. obviously, I've got all these, cameras and smaller cameras up here. And, I talk about Audible all the time. Now we're listening to digital, downloads and podcasts we're listening to right here and now. And then we're coming out with technology with cameras and, I just find it fascinating. Now, listen, I'm not going to use everything that I stumble upon. Even when I do camera reviews and things like that, like, I might use them more, spy cams. I end up using them, after I review them, if they're worthy, but cameras or, recorders, I don't, maybe not use all the time. Maybe like the dash cam I used a few times, I actually used during cases. But I don't use it all the time, but there's a lot of people that want to use it all the time. And so I'm going to do my best. I won't be able to be like, give you complete reviews on everything, but at least I'll bring your attention to it. And I hope to do that with these news articles, and these news podcasts to kind of draw your attention to some cool science stuff, or maybe it's technology, or how, maybe you should drop the iPhone and get the Nexus, 5, which is the Google phone, which is way better than the iPhone, in my opinion. But anyway, so I just want to share that with you. I hope you enjoy these news, these sharings, these podcast shares. I enjoy it. In fact, it makes me want to search out these other people and kind of, see what they're doing. It makes me want to do that. And I just hope you guys like hearing about it too. So with that being said, I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and I will, I'll get this podcast posted up. And if you have any more questions about this, you can email me at, I don't use the email very much other than reading. You can email me. I'm so horrible. At piadvicehq@gmail.com. So that's piadvicehq@gmail.com. Email me questions there. Or you can comment in the video or message the Private Investigator Advice website. At PrivateInvestigatorAdviceHQ.com. Go to the contact page. That's always a good place to do it. Yeah, I guess I'm just kind of rambling, so you guys should just be on their way.
Yeah, boy.
Oh, I almost forgot. Talk to Investigator Marketing. They are offering, again, 15% off your purchase of a 5-page website, 5 or more page website. Let me just double check our conversation that I had with them here. Let's see. Ruben. Yep, 15% off with the purchase of a new 5-page website, or better, for the month of January. Now, I don't know how long this is going to last. He might change it next month. So it's only good for January 2014. Unfortunately, you're getting this podcast probably January 13, so you have about 2 weeks to jump on this. At the very least, get a hold of Ruben and let him know that you're interested in the offer. Maybe you can call dibs, So give him a call back. So go to investigatormarketing.com, ask for Ruben, email him. He'll get back to you. Trust me. And let him set a nice website up for you. Let him do it right. All right. See ya. Hey, thanks again for watching the video. I would highly recommend going down there and clicking that subscribe button. There's a ton of videos always coming out. Sometimes they're podcast videos, sometimes they're review videos, sometimes they're tip videos, you name it. I'm making videos. So if you would, just go ahead and click that button. Did you click it yet? No? It's your mouse broken? Are you using one of those touch pads? Listen, I don't have all day, but I can sit here a little bit longer if you want. All right then. Awkward. Thanks for watching.